the US at global forums and on the world stage. So which candidate has the best strategy to tackle the rise of China, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? To discuss this and more, let's go straight to our dialogue partners this evening. Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, an advisor to the Trump campaign, joining us from Washington, D.C. Louis Caldera, a Democratic analyst, someone who has served under Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, also joining us from Washington. And Jason Thompson, member of the Republican National Committee in Georgia. He's with us from Atlanta. And we have Neera Tandon, President and CEO of the Center for American Progress. She, too, is with us from Washington, D.C. Good evening and welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Rogers, we'll begin with you. Only today, just a few minutes back, we reported in a show that Donald Trump maintains a bank account in China. His businesses paid more than $188,000 in taxes to Beijing, far more than what Trump has paid to the U.S. Exchequer. Considering these business links, should we even take Trump seriously when he talks about making China pay?
To begin with, it's a non-story. The people of the United States can care less about where his bank account is. What they're concerned about is what he is doing to repel the Chinese Communist Party's influence here in America. Now, keep in mind that the Chinese Communist Party is busy building a big fleet out in the Pacific. They're certainly interfering or trying to interfere with our election through influences. It is this president, no other president, that put heavy tariffs on China. It is this president, no other president, that is going to change the balance of power, if he could, with regard to China. Now, keep in mind that although President Trump has been criticized over his relationship with Vladimir Putin needs President Trump. We need to create an alliance, hopefully, with Russia to put China in check. So this is the president that could do that. Joe Biden's done nothing at all in his 48 years in the United States Congress.
This is the president who pursued a license deal with China for many years and got them after he became president. Does this not strike you as conflict of interest?
Absolutely not. Once again, I will share with you that the American people are not particularly concerned about those business dealings. They're concerned about his performance as president. Whether he has dealings with China or not, whether he has bank accounts with China or not, does not affect at all the average American in this country. What affects us is how he is dealing with China now with regard to our quality of life and with regard to our safety.
Then I would have to say the average American cuts a lot of slack. Louis Caldera, Donald Trump accuses Joe Biden of not being tough on China when he held public office. Where does Biden stand on holding China accountable, for instance, for its attempts to cover up the Wuhan virus outbreak?
Well, your introduction was perfect because what you said was China is trying to replace the U.S. on the world stage. And the only reason that has happened is because Donald Trump has been a disaster on the world stage, including turning his back and insulting our allies. When he insults our allies, what he does is he weakens what holds America strong, and he creates an opportunity for countries like Russia and China and others that have territorial ambitions and want to replace the U.S. on the world stage with the opportunity to leverage their influence, which China's doing. They're taking advantage of Trump's America First nonsense to try to say you should be closer to us. Imagine that, closer to a communist country than to a democratic country. And what Trump has done is he's really harmed democratic institutions by calling them into question in the U.S. and globally. And I think what Steve just said is perfect. The American people will hold Trump accountable for his performance. And his performance has been a disaster. More than 200,000 people dead of the COVID virus because he refused to have a real plan to contain the virus. China didn't. China's economy is now bouncing back. They're growing at 5%. Their people are back open, and the U.S. isn't. And now our doctors, health officials are projecting there may be another 250,000, 300,000 excess deaths as we go into the third spike of the coronavirus because Donald Trump threw the towel in. He refused to act. He blamed others. He lied. He knew it was airborne and lied to the American people. He didn't want it to hurt the market, which really is only a measure of the success of the super wealthy, not the average person. 30 million people have lost their jobs. That's the disaster that Donald Trump is. That's what America is for.
Right. I would take China's figures and claims with a pinch of salt. Also, you've told me all that Donald Trump has done wrong, but you've not told me what Joe Biden's plan is. How would he hold China accountable? I'll come back to you with that question in a bit. Jason Thompson, Donald Trump likes to describe himself as a deal maker. He insists he's the best one. His allies, countries like Australia, Japan and India, are working on a military alliance to take on China. But Trump is infamous for dumping allies. Is he going to do the same if he becomes president, if China offers him a trade deal tomorrow?
Well, look, let's back up here a second. We just heard a bunch of DNC talking points, so I'd like to address them. So it was Joe Biden, remember, that said that when Trump banned travel from China, he said that was xenophobic. And because of Trump's immediate action on that, basically saved millions of lives. Joe Biden's a weak politician. And if he were elected, he would get rid of all these tariffs with China that basically made a level playing field for American workers. That's who President Trump's looking out for, is American workers. And he's been on this since day one. So you hear this stuff from folks like our colleague here talking about, oh, it's Trump's fault because of the virus. That's ridiculous. The virus came from China, okay? Trump took immediate action banning travel from China. Joe Biden didn't want that to happen. That's the kind of leader Joe Biden would be, one that's weak-kneed, one that can't stand up to China. And it's surprising that you mentioned this bank account of Trump. You didn't mention anything about the Biden family and what's going on with them with China.
I will come to that.
With Hunter Biden. Are you going to address that?
I will. But I have to tell you this. Donald Trump praised China 15 times in the early months of 2020 when the Wuhan virus was just beginning to spread around the world. Jason Thompson.
Well, I didn't get the first part. Say that again.
Donald Trump praised China and its response 15 times in the initial days of the outbreak.
I don't know if that statistic is right. Let me tell you this, though.
It's right.
When this first started, we really didn't know what it was about. So, and as time went on, China started pushing back and wouldn't let our doctors in and then he went the opposite direction, right? So initially there might be some veracity, but initially that may be the case. But what happened was China didn't let our doctors in, was very secretive about it, and then he obviously went the opposite way. I don't care what he said initially. It's what he did, what he found out, the action that he took, and the travel ban was the most important thing.
Right. And when he found out what was going on, he still didn't tell the people of America. Neera Tandon, this is a question that many have asked. Is Joe Biden weaker when it comes to China? And will Democrats, more importantly, reverse Trump's policies like visa restrictions and tariffs if voted to power?
Joe Biden has a concerted plan to actually address China's rise and the threats it poses to the region and increasingly around the world. Trump's policies on China have been a failure. And I think it's interesting that the Republicans on this panel are arguing that the American people don't care about his Chinese bank accounts. There's no evidence. The story just broke. It's a big story in the United States, and it will likely be a bigger story after the debate, because I'm sure Joe Biden will raise the fact that a person who essentially has business partnerships with the Chinese Communist Party itself, because he has business partnerships with state-owned banks. State-owned banks are essentially front organizations for the government itself. That person is not well equipped to take on China, and may be the reason why he's done such a poor job. The tariffs, the trade war we've had has been a one-sided trade war. The American people are paying the tariffs, not the Chinese. And the deal that's been struck has been one that hasn't reduced the trade deficit at all. In fact, we have the largest trade deficit in American history in September of 2020. So it has been a colossal failure of policy. Joe Biden has an alternative. Work with our allies, Europe, Asian allies, to form a concerted strategy to attack what China is doing, both economically and increasingly militarily. But economically, the way to affect China is to basically create global alliances across countries, Europe and the United States and Asia, that says we're not going to play by your rules anymore. That's what's going to be effective. A unilateral trade war has been a failure. A global response is what's needed. And I think what we've seen in the president's failure on the coronavirus and everything else, his go-it-alone strategy, where he doesn't listen to experts, is what's costing American leadership. And Joe Biden has an alternative and a better path forward.
Well, to be fair, Mike Pompeo is crisscrossing the world. Next week, I think he'll be going to Sri Lanka, the Maldives, and coming to India. They are working on alliances, but I'm not sure how long those alliances will hold. Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, the Trump camp has...
Just on this issue, though, Mike Pompeo himself. Mike Pompeo goes to Europe, goes to our allies, and insults them. I've been in meetings with him in Europe where he has been insulting to our allies. So it is important that he is crisscrossing the globe right now. But it is also important that when he insults our allies in Europe, he actually strengthens China's hand on the global stage.
Well, I've not been privy to the meetings, but that's what you say. Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, the Trump camp has been making a lot of noise over Hunter Biden and his business links. And you've said that the American voter does not care about the president's bank accounts. Do they care about Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who was granted approvals from 16 trademarks in China during the Trump presidency? Is this not a case of leveraging access for benefit?
Look, to begin with, we don't know this as fact yet. There's a lot of news out there. There's a lot of narratives. But what is factual is what the American people care about. We've been inundated with all kinds.
No, that's not fact.
Well, do you want me to answer the question?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll tell you why it's fact. Because I'm out on the streets. I'm in the neighborhoods. I'm talking to people. Okay? We're not listening to the false narratives of the Democrat National Committee. The people in this country are concerned about law and order. They're concerned about their safety, and they're concerned about their quality of life. All this nonsense that's going on, all that we see going on, whether it be Biden, whether it be Trump, the people are concerned about their lives. So let it be what it is now. We're going to see an election come up. I believe the president will be reelected, and then all this will be taken care of. But if you want to know what the people are talking about, forget the polls, forget the New York Times, talk to the people directly, and they'll share with you what is on their mind.
What the people want to hear and what the people care about is not fact. What figures and numbers and evidence bears out is fact. But if you say that the people of America do not care about Donald Trump and his business dealings with China, so be it. Louis Caldera, why doesn't the Biden camp explain the accusations against Hunter Biden?
So first of all, I think the American people do understand that this is a president who has completely enriched himself during his administration, including because he and his family travel all over the world at American expense and then stay near Trump properties, forcing the U.S. government, the Secret Service, and others to spend millions of dollars in paying rent to facilities that goes directly into their pockets. They get the fact that this president is enriching himself. Hunter Biden is, as the Mr. Stevens said, it's a non-issue because, and it appears to be very fabricated what the source of this computer was, these emails. Nobody even understands what they're talking about. Look, we're talking about Trump's performance. Let's talk about China. So China is very complex because on the one hand, we have to compete with China economically. We want a level playing field so they protect intellectual property so that they respect our laws, the rule of law. That's important. On other levels, we have to cooperate with China because it's critical that China deal with the issue of climate change as it is critical for India with all its low-lying areas. And we have to address climate change. Donald Trump denies science, denies climate change. So there are areas where we compete, areas where we cooperate, and then areas where we are adversaries, because we don't want the spread of communism around the world, and that's what they want. And so when Trump weakens our alliances, he hurts our ability to compete with them as adversaries on the world stage. When he pulls the U.S. back, he hurts us. Let me also talk about immigration, because Trump is hurting South Asians. And in fact, he's going to drive American jobs to India by making it more expensive for people to have H-1B visas in the United States. His attacks, not just on illegal immigration.
I want to focus on Hunter Biden right now. We've spoken about immigration. Beyond the Ukraine charges, there's an email thread that dates back to May 2017. It talks about remuneration packages for 6 people as part of a business deal with the now defunct Chinese energy company CEFC China Energy. Both Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were allegedly involved in discussions around this deal. How is this a non-issue?
I'm sorry, that has not been, I just need to break in here.
Sure.
That email chain you are referencing has not been stated by, the FBI has it in possession. They are investigating the case right now. They are investigating the case, contrary to what DNI Radcliffe says, the possibility of Russian disinformation. So just to say, as a media outlet, it is irresponsible for you to use an email thread that you do not know is accurate and could be the product of disinformation.
Yes,
so
could be the New York Times report. By that logic, any allegation, the New York Times report has not been proven that Donald Trump had such dealings and what he was trying to pursue in China.
I'm sorry, do we not, we have intelligence agencies who have stated and we have past activities by our intelligence agencies, the United States and intelligence community has put forward analysis that Russia has used stolen emails as a part of a disinformation campaign. This would just be another option. That is not
you know what's happening. What's happening?
Any stretch of information.
What's happening here is when you talk to the Democrats about Hunter Biden, they say it's a non-issue. When you talk to the Republicans about Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump, they say it's a non-issue and Americans don't care about it. I'll come to Jason Thompson.
Let me be clear about this. I am not saying that actions by officials. Ivanka Trump is an official of the government right now. Just to be clear.
Yes. Jason Thompson.
There is a big difference. Is Hunter Biden?
Jason Thompson, it is now being widely reported that Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, was a source of the purported Hunter Biden emails, and reporters of the New York Post refused to attach their bylines to the story because they had doubts over these claims.
Because they hate Giuliani. Well, that's typical of them. But the FBI and the DOJ concur with the National Intelligence Director, Radcliffe, that this isn't any sort of a disinformation campaign from Russia, all right? And there's no FBI investigation that this is Russian disinformation. So what the disinformation is coming from is from our Democrat colleagues on this call right now. And what's interesting about this, too, is that the Biden campaign has never once denied the truthfulness, the veracity of these emails. Not once. So it's very telling. Look, Hunter Biden was involved with this Chinese energy company, CEFC, I believe the name of it was. I think the president of it actually went to jail. I do think it's responsible to talk about this. And in your defense, Palki, you said allegedly. Okay, you didn't say for sure. All right. So as an attorney, I can tell you that. There's no defamation lawsuit regarding that because you said allegedly, all right? So that's where we're at right now. The FBI is obviously investigating it, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Neera Tandon, has the Biden campaign officially contested and denied the veracity of these emails?
Joe Biden has himself said this is a smear job and it's false. Just to say, he said that 10 days ago. Or actually, I'm sorry, he said it last Friday. It's a smear job and it's false. So to say that no one has denied this is wrong. And also we had Rudy Giuliani yesterday himself, the source of this, say It may not be true, but it just, it may be true, it may not be true. So just to say, we are now in the world where people are flying around accusations. And I have to say, the standard by which Hunter Biden having possible business dealings in China is terrible. But the president of the United States, while he's president, having a Chinese bank account in which he pays more in taxes to the Chinese government than he has paid in taxes to the United States, that is irrelevant. I mean, only in bizarro land, upside down world, does the child of a presidential candidate who is a private citizen mean less than the current activities of the president of the United States, which is linked to policy because, as you pointed out, in January, multiple times, Donald Trump said China was handling the virus well. China is doing a great job. And he allowed this virus to get out of control. The famous China ban everyone keeps talking about allowed 44,000 people from China through into the United States. That is not a ban. So that is a failed policy. Right. So the idea here that he's strong on China has been belied by all of his actions, which comes back to the fact that he's been in bed with the Chinese government and China and the Chinese government throughout this process, which explains why he's had such a terrible strategy.
Right. I have to agree with you that this is a bit bizarre. And I think all of you are saying that it doesn't matter. American people don't care about this or that. And yet both the presidential candidates and hopefuls are trying to prove that they will be tougher on China. That's where things stand. I'm out of time, but thank you very much, Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, Louis Caldera, Jason Thompson, and Neera Tandon. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your time with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
US Election Dialogues. Co-powered by Tata Consultancy Services. Transforming India. In association with